All right. Hello, class. Couple questions for reflection this week. The first is what specific groups of adults in your parish need attention in regards to their learning opportunities? What settings, types of adult offerings, cohesion level, and methods would be appropriate? Currently, there are three groups of adults that seem to need attention, and they are the equivalent to Levinson and Sheehy's early adulthood, middle adulthood, and late adulthood populations. Of course, I recognize that these three groups encompass the majority of the adult ages in many of our churches, from 20 to 40, 40 to 60, and 60 plus. However, we have two small groups in the church. Well, we have multiple small groups, but these two small groups in particular cover this wide age range. The first group is primarily families that range from their late 20s, mid 30s into their late 40s. They all have kids in similar age ranges, middle school, elementary school, and a few preschool in there. And the other group is primarily retirees, aged upper 60s to early 90s. And so two very different groups, but they address similar things. They have requested that we cover questions specific to the previous week's sermon. And so the reason why I've identified them as needing attention is because they've said to me, we want your attention, or we want attention. We want opportunities to grow and to learn and develop our faith. And so I develop a series of questions for both groups. And as the leader of both groups, I facilitate. But one of the things I love, one of the models that really works for these two groups is allowing the conversation to become organic. I'll establish questions that might dig a little deeper into the passage or a particular pericope, maybe providing opportunities for them to explain what a certain word means, or what do you think Jesus or Paul or Moses or whoever it is, what do you think they mean when they're saying ... But it's not uncommon for us to get through one or two, maybe three questions, but then it starts to grow. Someone will share an example, and that will lead to an example from someone else, or it might lead to some disagreement. Well, I don't think that's exactly what Paul was trying to say there, or I think Jesus really means this example over here. And so even though we joke in our groups that we typically don't get through all of the questions, that's okay, because we get to a point, and these groups have been meeting for a while, so there's a lot of trust and cohesion in the groups. They're starting to teach each other and learn from each other. And of course, I'm there to facilitate and provide my input, but I love the fact that they are learning within themselves, within their own groups. And it's been a joy to watch that. So again, there are two different groups covering a wide array of ages, but going through the same set of questions, they don't reach the same ends. The young families are looking at scripture sometimes from their particular stage of life. The retirees and our 90-plus-year-old members, they're looking at scripture through their particular lens. And so we have seen some really cool learning grow and develop from that. The second question I want to reflect on is, how does your congregation view the ministry of children? How can you help them see the connections between religious education and the growing child's need to be included fully in the life of the parish? Now, I'm blessed, admittedly, to have members of the church that openly embrace not only children growing in their faith, but also children participating in the ministry of the church. The church has a devoted team of volunteers who lead children's ministry efforts in the church. In classes, Sunday school classes are divided based on age or grade level, covering a range from kindergarten through sixth grade. Leaders take an intentional approach toward teaching with goals and expectations for what they would like the youth to learn. And it's more than coloring pages and stickers, although those do have their place from time to time. It's more about learning and growing and developing and understanding in an age-appropriate way. For example, one series or curriculum focused on the fruit of the Spirit, as outlined by Paul in Galatians 5, 22 and 23. And for 9 successive weeks, the students learn about one of the different fruit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, and gentleness and self-control. And they learned what each of the fruit meant or represented, how they can experience that fruit with God, but also how they can demonstrate that fruit with others. And of course, this was age appropriate for kindergartners versus second graders versus fifth graders. But when it was all said and done at the end of the series and the curriculum, the students all had learned a song and sang it to the congregation, a song about the fruit of the Spirit. And I could go to some of those students now and they remember what the fruit of the Spirit are. They may not remember all of them, of course, but they'll remember what love really means in the context of the fruits, or what self-control might mean. And so the teachers are very dedicated and committed and intentional with how they're showing the youth what some of these things mean. Now, some of our older youth, 7th grade through 9th grade, they meet separately. And to start the Sunday school year, they've been given a book, Chicken Soup for the Preteen Soul. And each week, a different member of the youth will take a turn and cover a chapter or a topic from the book. In addition, they will lead a discussion of the chapter or topic, and the group will engage in open conversation or dialogue. Of course, they will have an adult leader present to make sure they stay on track because, middle school, early high school, it's easy for them to get off track, as it is for us adults sometimes. But they're also there to help answer questions that the youth might have, or if something is unclear, they can clarify it a bit. But the purpose for that is helping them to take their Christian religious education to the next level, becoming more of a critical thinker, asking questions, maybe challenging a little bit of what they read, but also growing in their service of the church. We want to show them that it's more than just coming and sitting down for an hour on a Sunday morning after worship. There are ways that we can serve and share and give. And these youth then move into roles of acolyting, sharing scripture, sharing in music. Our younger members of the youth, they're greeters. And so the goal for the church is that these youth not only grow in their understanding of scripture and God, in their age or their context, but also what does it mean to be active members of our church? How do we demonstrate what it means to do good, or to do no harm, or to stay in love with God? And so the church supports this. They donate materials and resources to help the youth grow, and the youth reciprocate as well. We have partnerships for confirmation. We have prayer partners and other opportunities for adults in the church and the youth of the church to support one another, but really for the adults to help support the growth of our youth. So a lot of information to condense into about 7 or 8 minutes. And so just some reflection for me and in my context with regard to Christian education.